the secondary meaning of the verb, which is to engraft and renders begrafted. That is, all the families of the earth shall join thee. Now you have to understand when it says all the mishpachah of the earth shall join him, he's not talking about those that have not already been assigned to join him. You have to understand we are that mishpachah and our mishpachah to come. We are the ones that are joining, because remember, we had no idea of this way of life until it was presented to us. That's why we are what? Awake now. Because we were what? We were asleep. And so now we will be those families that will join with them, because for so long, generations after generations, we were estranged from this truth. Are you following me?
Yes.
So when you look at these, it is not talking about a people, another people, it's talking about us. So this is important once again that we find ourselves in here. I am with thee. Yahuwah reassures him since he was afraid of Esau and Laban. Now once again, you have to understand why he was afraid of Esau. Now he's afraid of Laban. Why? Because he has no money. He has nothing. Nothing but the clothes on his back. Because everything was taken from him. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
I will not leave thee while thou art traveling on the road, when a man needs more than usual protection. So Yahuwah was not going to leave him. Now, once again, you have to understand why he reiterates it, because anybody that is, you have to understand, even with looking at Yaakov, I'm sure his attire said that he was somebody of notoriety.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going by yourself. Bandits come, grab you up, sell you off.
Right.
Grab you up, make you their slave. Or grab you up and take and say, well, we want a ransom for him, because we know he's of importance. So you have to understand, Yahuwah is telling him, and though you may not have men to protect you, I will protect you. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Sometimes we think the bigger the entourage, the more safe we are. Sometimes when it's just you, you got to understand that no matter whether you have 1 million people surrounding you, you're still protected. We're still protected.
Yes.
That's why we have to always keep our belief and trust in him. And it is so.
And it is so.
So we're assuring him. And he says, spoken to thee, that is concerning thee. The promise I made to Abraham was made in respect of thee, not Esau. And he's telling him that he's going to return him to that land. And so once again, encouraging his heart not to faint and not to feel alone. I knew it not. Had I known, I would not have slept here. Had I known, I would have prepared myself to reach the degree of prophecy to which such a place is conducive. In other words, he was saying, had I known this was here, I would have probably done better. Now, you have to understand, we can really go and say many things. He could have also been provoked to say that because he realized he had nothing in his hand to offer but oil poured on a rock. Are you following me?
Yes.
Reminiscing, if I wouldn't have ran into him, or thinking maybe if I would have fought a little harder, maybe if I'd have done something different, then when I got to this place and saw what I saw, I could have offered him an offering that was due him. Are you following me? Yes. And not which was just in my pocket. So you have to understand, once again, looking at the character of them and knowing that they were givers. They believed in giving to Abba Yahuwah, no matter where they were. They had no problem with putting up an altar and slaughtering an animal and giving it to Abba Yahuwah. That said and symbolized they had no problem giving themselves freely unto Abba Yahuwah. There was no fighting, there was no struggle. And we ought to be the same way. No fighting me with you, Abba Yahuwah. Whatever you say, whatever you do, I'm here. The fight is gone. Are you hearing me? Take off the boxing gloves and open the palm of your hands and open them before Abba Yahuwah. I'm not fighting you, Abba Yahuwah. I'm here to be led by you, not fight you and you have to drag me, like a kicking and screaming mule. Are you following me? That's just not how we do things. All right, now, the house of Abba Yahuwah, and this is the gate of Shemaim. Now, once again, this is quoted from the Talmud. The ladder stood in Beersheba. The middle of its slope was over the site of the temple, and the top corresponded to Bethel. Now, this is something else, but the The quotes that are from the Talmud came from Eleazar, said in the name of R. Josie beat Zimra. The latter stood in Beersheba. The middle of its slope was over the site of the temple, and the top corresponded to Bethel. And the other interpreter goes on to explain how it came about that Yaakov found himself in this town. The other interpreter rejects. And so the interpretation maintains that according to the rabbi quoted, the feet of the ladder were in Beersheba and its top over the temple site, this being the gate of Shemaim. So once again, you have the interpreters basically going backwards and forth saying, well, this was cited by this one, that was cited by that one, this was cited by that one, and the bottom part of the ladder was here, and the top part went so far that we could say that it was here, there. And so this is where they're basically at when it came down, when he said the house of Abba Yahuwah, and this is the gate of Shemaim. Now, and then it says the temple site, this being the gate of Shemaim. And this is the gate of Shemaim remarks. From the place where Yahuwah stood, he hears the prayers of his petition, or his petitioner. Now remember, it was over him. When he looked up in the vision, he could see Abba Yahuwah at the top. He could see him at the top. Okay? And so this is why they're saying that he was standing over him. And this is why it is interpreted in this manner. Now he hears the prayers of his petitioners, and thence their prayers ascend to the Kadesh dwelling in Shemaim on the house of Yahuwah. Now the comment is that this is the place where man should pray in case of need, since it had been selected for that purpose. Now you got to understand the reason this is can be valid, and then at the same time it cannot be, because that would basically say because we're not there, then our prayers will not be heard, and they will not be as effective because we are not in that place. Follow me? Yes. So these are some of the things that we have to be careful of, and many times, once again, depending on the interpreter, these things can be interpreted to benefit them and sway towards their belief, than it being I don't want to say generalized, but that it being based and brought forth in the truth and not a truth. Are you following me? Just like one time before, I read something even out of this very book, and it said that, as long as we were dispersed, that we had no right to keep the feast or the Shabbat, and that basically outside of that, Yahuwah doesn't hear us, which I totally disagree with. Yeah. Because if he does not hear us, then what is the purpose of waking us up? We have to repent. Yeah. And so if he doesn't hear us when we repent, then what happens? We're not forgiven. So once again, it is very important that in our study time, that we make sure that even when stuff we hear, that we take it and we not just take it at face value or just accept it as being true until we take it through the acid test. And until we first and foremost pray about it, and then take it and say, okay, now let me apply. Let me see, will this stand up to the acid test? Okay, we are not there. We are here in the land that we were dispersed to. Now, are my prayers being answered or not? Are you following me? Yes. Was I awakened by his compassion and his ahava? Or am I just going through the motion and I'm just doing something? Are you following me? So it is important that we understand once again that if we're not careful, that sometimes interpretations of the writings and even of what is stated can be, if we're not careful, can mislead us. And many people believe, well, until we leave, we can't really do anything. That's a lie. Because if you ask him, he is going to tell you. Now, he may not give it to you in the manner you think you should get it, but trust me, he will answer you. I'm a living witness. He opened my eyes and he opened my understanding because I was asking for it. So if he doesn't hear me, then I know the enemy sure wasn't going to bring me in the truth. Are y'all following me? So once again, very important that we be careful. And once again, I bring these things out to bring clarity. So if someone is thinking along that line, that we're here, we can't keep the feast, we can't keep the Shabbat, we can't really live like we're supposed to because we're in the land, of our enemies, or many say the land of our captivity. you can live according to his instructions no matter where you are. That's a lie of the enemy to try to tell us what we can't do. So this is very important for us to understand, once again, that we do not fall for the lie and the trap of the enemy. It's very important that we understand that. Are you hearing me? Now, verse 18, set it up for a pillar. The prohibition against setting up a pillar applied only to such as Yahuwah hated. Devarim 16 and 22. That is for the practice of idolatry. We are informed that Moshe set up 12 pillars. Once again, and this part right here is to allow us to understand, because many times people go off and say, well, many interpreters have basically said that when he did that, that he was sacrificing to idol powers. Now, once again, it is because we tend to look at other stuff. One of the things that I found that many of the writings, when I say writings, I'm not talking about the Torah, the scrolls. I'm talking about many much literature and many rabbis and sages. Their literature that has been promoted and put out there tend to use other people from other cultures, tend to try to parallel it with them. Just for instance, when you hear about the virgin birth, because there is also a virgin birth that is in Kemet. Also, what we look at as it being in Mitzrayim. And so you have about 4 or 5 stories about the virgin birth. And so what people tend to do is parallel them and say, well, they stole that from them because there is no rendering of a virgin birth in Hebrew. And so you tend to have all of these things that are thrown out there. And so the first thing people say is, well, they stole it from the Mitzrayim. Well, how do you know they didn't steal it from us? Right. Once again, so you have these things, and so they tend to parallel them, and in paralleling them, many people take the mindset, well, we can't use that because they did it too. Right. Well, the Muslims kneel down and pray. So are we to stop kneeling and praying because they do it too? No. Absolutely not. Right. So once again, it's important that we find ourselves not buying into a lot of things that were put out there, especially for our demise. Right. Very important. Pour oil upon the top of it, to consecrate it so that sacrifices might be offered thereon, that he might recognize it on his return. Once again, why? Because he didn't have anything to do it the first time, but in his heart of hearts, I truly believe, and in his mind, he said, but when I come back through here, it's going to be a whole different story. We're going to smoke it up. Are you following me? Yes. We're going to light it up. It's important. And the thing of it is, once again, and the reason why I have looking at this and really taking my time to go through it is that, once again, how do we relate this with our time? There are times that there are things that I'm sure, and I pray that you wanted to do for the Yahweh, but at that time may not have had it right there within your hands. You got to understand, when you make a promise, or you say, you know what, I'll be Yahuwah, when I come back through here, or when I do this next time around this time, I'm going to have it and I'm going to do it the way I want to. Right. And you mark it, Yahuwah will esteem you for that. He marked it with the oil because he had nothing else. But that, I believe, was symbolic of him saying, this is my vow. Right. And when I return, I'm going to have something more. Right. But this is to let you know that I'm serious about what I've encountered with you here on this occasion, on this special occasion. Very important for us to do the very same thing. That when we have an encounter with Abba Yahuwah, that you can't pay him for it, but you surely can baruch him for what he has done. Are y'all following me? Yes. Very important. And once again, the reason we go through these portions are why? Because we want to see the do's and the don'ts. Good. We want to be able to learn the great things, or I don't want to say habits, but the things that was the life of the life, and the things that they did that were not. We want to make sure that we are not duplicating the errors and not duplicating and learning the things that move the heart of Abba Yahuwah. So once again, it's very important for us to understand that. All right, let's finish. Let us begin at verse 19, please.
Verse 19. And he named the place Wayetzei-And, though previously the city was named Luz. There Yaakov made a vow. If Yahuwah will be with me and watch over me on this journey, if he provides me with food to eat and clothing to wear, and if I return safely to my Abba's house, then Yahuwah will be my savior. This stone that I have set up as a marker will be Yahuwah's house, and I will give to you 1/10 of all that you give me. Chapter 29, verse 1. Yaakov resumed his journey and went to the eastern country. He looked and saw a well in a field. 3 flocks of sheep were lying there beside it, because the sheep were watered from this well. A large stone covered the opening of the well. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherd would roll the stone from the opening of the well and water the sheep. The stone was then placed on the well's opening. Yaakov asked the men at the well, "My brothers, where are you from?" "From Haran," they answered. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at what he says to Abba Yahuwah. Now once again, plain sight. But you have to understand, and you have to look how Christianity masks things over for us not to see certain things, to not be able to identify it. Now listen what he says in verse 19. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city had been Luz previously. Then Yaakov made a vow, saying, "If power will be with me and keep me in this way that I am going, and give me lakim to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come back to my Abba's bayith in Shalom, then Yahuwah shall be my power." The reason he had to ask for that is because he was stripped of what he had. He said, "Look, I'm going." Now you have to understand, this was a eye-opener for him, I believe. And it was also a turning point for him to truly examine his relationship with the Abba. Because he's already spoken to him. It's in my office. He's already spoken to him and he's given him certain things and he's reassuring him. But now in him being reassured, he wants to make sure I'm understanding this right, because now I got to go here and I'm empty-handed. Right. I have no food and I have no clothing. So once again, this is a verse, these two verses, or this verse helps us once again to recognize and gives validity to the scroll of Yesher to help us understand that what took place. Right. It was not fabricated. Because why would a man with substance right there with him ask for something as he already had it? That's just like you eating food and asking for more. Right. And you still got it in your mouth. He didn't have it. And so he is telling him. Now watch what he also says to him. He says, "So that I come back to my Abba's bayith in Shalom, then Yahuwah shall be my power." Now once again, this is his vow to him. Why? Because he understands. Can you imagine trying to go back and explain what happened to the stuff that you were supposed to have? You can't, because remember now, he's representing his home. Right. And because he has nothing to give, that's like an insult. So to represent, he cannot. He can't. And you have to understand, now it kind of makes me wonder. Once again, you have to understand everything Abba Yahuwah let happens to us is for a purpose. Something, if it's something that seems like it mashes us, it means he's trying to get something out of us. And I believe this was to press him because there was something that he needed to get out of him. Because you have to understand, he just admitted here, "I need you." And you can imagine probably on that road, he probably thinking, I'm going to go. As soon as I come back, I got plans. Well, his plans were thwarted because the only thing he had was the clothes on his back and a little bottle of oil. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, this is what he says in verse 22. "And this stone which I have set as a pillar shall be power's bayith. And of all that you give me, I will surely give 1/10 to you." Now, once again, the importance of understanding what he has just vowed. You don't hear Abraham And you don't hear Isaac making this vow to Abba Yahuwah.
Right.
But this is the beginning of his walk with Abba Yahuwah. This is the beginning of his experience with Abba Yahuwah. Watch this. Outside of his home. Outside of home. Now he's not on his own because Abba Yahuwah is there, but he is outside of the jurisdiction and outside of that. Outside of what is home. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, many theologians have stated that the reason why Isaac could not go and could not go with them is because somebody had to stay there to represent and occupy the land. And then Isaac was sick. So this is why Yaakov had to be what? Forced out, in a sense, because he had to get out and go to these places. Because think about it, if he wasn't forced out, do you think he would have left? Absolutely not. Not right then and there. Okay?
Yes.
Now, Yaakov vows to give his 10% tithe to Yahuwah, realizing where his Baruch was coming from. The tithe was set up long before the Torah was given at Mount Sinai, and is mandatory today for all believers to give to Torah teachers. They are not to be wasted by giving them to pastors who teach Torah disobedience in churches. And this is just a footnote I'm reading. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, once again, many would wrestle and struggle with that because they would say, but you got to understand, we ain't supposed to do that. And if it is, why not? Well, we're supposed to give greens. And I'll say it and I'll continue to say it. Well, if you know you're supposed to give the vegetation and give the goats and the lambs and all the rest of that, where is it? We always want to say that's what we're supposed to do, but where is it? You know why? Because once again, people believe that it's only when we get into the land. It's not just when we get home. It is where we are now. Right. Are you following me?
Yes.
It's very important. And this is why I believe sometimes, and like I say, don't quote me on this, but I speak freely as a moral. This is why I believe there's so many of us that have a hard time committing because we feel like if we do this now, we act just like the church. Well, you have to understand something. We are not the church. We are the congregation. But it is set up in there that the tithes are to go to the teacher. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand that. And he makes a vow to give this to Abba Yahuwah. Now, you know, what he going to do? Throw it up in the air? What the Malaka gonna come and take it and go by and then take it back to Abba Yahuwah? Come on, let's mature and let's really begin to look at this thing in the manner we're supposed to. We want to do things. You want to build community. We want to build community. We want to build things, but you need more than cabbage and greens to build community.
Right.
And that's the truth. Are you following me?
Yes.
And many people say, but because we ought to be able to do. It's one thing if you're giving it, and you help it, but it's another thing when you're not. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
It's very important for us to understand that. And we get this thing misconstrued once again. Why? Because interpretation. And when you have interpreters that misinterpret it, now you got people out here doing anything and whatever they want, and they feel justified by it. Mm-hmm. You tell me that you're not supposed to pay tithes, but we sell things. Are you following me?
Yes.
We sell things. And there are some things that I don't believe we should sell. Are you following me?
Yes.
But we say these things once again because of lack of what? Knowledge and understanding. Order has to be put in place. Am I saying we're not supposed to have business? Absolutely not, because you have to understand when the year of Yarabel comes, it is a year of release. And when that year of release comes, what did they do when they got back on their land and they found that they had more? They went and sold it among each other. They sold it. They said, now don't go, and in other words, don't price gouge. If you know you selling full pomegranates, just me using it, don't go trying to sell it for no $1,000 because you know that increases come. You sell it for the right amount. Right. Are you following me? Yes. So nobody lost out. Nobody lose out. It's just us getting this method and the methodology down pat to where we're able to build. Right. And we're all able to benefit from it. We all should be able to benefit from it. But until we get that system working, like the clocks, the gears on a clock, we still trying to get there.
That's right.
And until we get there, we still in the motion. And that's a great thing because at least we're moving towards it. If we weren't moving towards it, that's a problem. But we're moving towards it. So once again, very important for us to understand that. And that's why we continue to do, because it is our desire to do things. It is my desire to do more things. And so once again, it takes finances. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right, now chapter 29. So Yaakov went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. And he looked and saw a well in the field, and behold, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a large stone was on the well's mouth. Now you have to understand, now this well is what? Closed up. Now all the flocks would be gathered there, and they would roll the stone from the well's mouth, water the sheep, and put the stone back in its place on the well's mouth. Verse 4, and Yaakov said to them, my brethren, where are you from? And they said, we are from Haran. And he said to them, do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. Now, remember when Abraham sent, what was it, Eleazar, when he went, it was the women going. Remember, they met at the well, and it was before the well was what? Closed up. It was before it was closed up. Now it's closed up. Now who has to come? The men have to come. Because now when the men are in place, watch this, the men basically watch who comes in and who goes out of the city.
Yes.
So now mind you, he's there, and he's there empty-handed. He has nothing in his possession but himself in his possession. Are you following me?
Yes.
Yes.
Very important for us to understand this. All right, let's read a few more verses, and then we're going to pray. I read to verse 5. Let's start at verse 6, please. 29.
Verses.
Let's do 8.
Start from 6 and 7. Then Yaakov asked them, Is he well? Yes, he is, they said. And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep. Look, he said, the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture. We can't, they replied, until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep. While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her Abba's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. When Yaakov saw Rachel, daughter or bat of Laban, his mother's brother, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well, and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Yaakov kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. He had not told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and the son of Rivkah. So she ran and told her Abba. It is so.
And it's so. Now you gotta understand now he was sent there to get an issue. And so because he had no money, and I'm sure when he saw her, he fell in a hob with her at first sight. But he realized he didn't have what he needed. Are you following me?
Yes.
Now, once again, you have to understand. Now, let's look at this. We're going to look at it from two perspectives. Now, he goes there. We started at verse 7, right? Yes. 6. All right, we're going to look at verse 7. It is yet high day. If you are a yam laborer, surely the yam is not yet spent. On the other hand, even if the sheep are your own, still neither is it time. A righteous man objects to a wrong being done even to others. Shepherds would rob their employers by stopping work before time. And how could this be done? You can't get water because the hole is blocked up. And so they would basically end up with Now, verse 9. Now while he was still speaking with them, Raquel sheep, for she was a shepherdess. She tended to the father's sheep. But she tended them, but not Leah. And so it says, either because the strong sun might have been harmful to her weak eyes, or perhaps as she was older and of marriageable age, Laban was afraid to let her mix with the shepherds. And so she stayed at home. But this is what she did. Now you have to understand, they represented the house, but we know that Laban was the brother and not the father. Are you following me? So once again, but these are his children. Laban, the son of Nahor. Laban was better known through his grandfather Nahor than through his Abba Bethuel. It may also be that Bethuel was of very little account, as we find Laban answering before him, or perhaps to esteem Abraham. The family is traced back to his brother Nahor. So we know that these are his daughter, but he represents his Abba's house, like how you go and you still hear about Abraham, and then you hear Isaac, and then you hear about Yaakov, and so you still hear that Abraham being the root, you still hear about the father being the root. In other words, the purpose is that because the expectation is that he's going to carry himself as his Abba did. Okay, that's the expectation, that he's going to carry himself just as his Abba carried himself. But we see that that's not going to be so. But anywho, all right. Now, we read on, and it says in verse 10, and it came to pass when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his Emma's brother. Now, mind you, this is his first cousin. That Yaakov went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. Now, you got to remember now, this is the only service that he can give because he is absolutely broke. He has no money. Then Yaakov kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And you have to understand, I believe the reason why he wept is because he understands he has nothing to offer for her. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Now, all right, now I'm gonna read this one. Oh yeah, poor man is regarded as being dead. Now, and he wept. Okay, now this is kind of saying the same thing. That he had not been fortunate. Now, this is what they're saying, enough to marry her in his youth. Now, it's not that he's, now remember, he's about 40 now. He's 40 plus. And he's not old, but he's not as young as before. Okay?
Yes.
And so, because you have to understand, you're only old as you feel. If you are 20 and you feeling all achy and you say, man, I'm old, then you're old. If you're 70 and you say, you know, I'm young and I don't feel, you're young. You may not be able to jump off no trampoline and do no flips, but everybody can't do that just because they're young. You got people can't flip. That's the truth. Going out there and do it. It's a sad thing, and that thing, I didn't know the young man, but I saw on one of the, still gives me chills. He was a upcoming bodybuilder, young Ibram man. He was only 24. You saw where he went, and I don't know, the devil possessed him to do that because he ended up killing himself trying to flip. If you don't know what you're doing, you can kill yourself. And he flipped and he fell because and when you're flipping, you have to get some height on you. You have to get some speed and height. And instead of him getting a little higher, when he flipped, instead of him flipping over, he fell right on his head and broke his neck instantly and killed himself. And they showed it. You know, that thing sends chills up my spine because you're literally watching this man kill himself. And he was young and he was healthy, but being young and healthy still doesn't mean you can flip. You follow what I'm saying? So things that are put in place that basically determines whether one person is young and another person old, don't always work. because everybody can't jump rope either. And they great, they just don't have that rhythm, double dutch. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Everybody can't do it. So it's not dependent upon that. But once again, you're able to move, you're able to do what you need to do. You're still healthy and fit. Go for it. You follow what I'm saying? Do what you do. But it says he kissed her. Now, once again, looking at what is being brought out. Then he also, according to another theologian, says, because he foresaw through the Ruach HaKodesh that she would not be buried with him. Another reason is because he came to her destitute. And this is the one that I believe is the valid one. I know it's the valid one. Because you can also research it in the scroll of Yasher. Are you following me?
Yes.
Very important for us to understand. Is because he came to her destitute. He had, unlike Eleazar, who had come for his Ema laden with riches. The reason for his state of destitution was Eliphaz, Esau's son, pursued him to slay him on his father's orders. But overcome with pity, he refrained, yet being unable to disobey his Abba, he comprised on Yaakov's suggestion by taking all that he had, since a poor man is regarded as dead. And you can see that even today. You have the poor and the homeless in the street, and people walk over them, run over them. They'll do whatever because they ain't here anyway. That's not all of us. I mean, we used to go out and feed them until they start moving them, and we couldn't find them. You got to go and find them. Why? Because they done ran them off somewhere where we couldn't find them, and we would enjoy doing it. Every first day, cooking chicken, and that chicken would be golden brown. And if we weren't doing chicken, we made sure they were fed well. We didn't give them no one piece. We made sure they had two pieces. Just like if you went to a restaurant and paid $8 or $9 for it, and we did 50 meals every first day. Yes, we did. We did it. No, we did it every first and what? Third or fourth?
I think first and last.
First and fourth day we would do it. And it was great. But when they started moving the people, we'd end up going out with 50 dinners, and we can only find 2 and 3, and then we'd have to end up giving the dinners to people that didn't need them. It became then unwise because we weren't able to do what the vision entailed, and that was to feed the homeless. I ain't trying to get nobody that got about $1,000 in their pocket a free dinner, unless you would tell me to do it. But we were looking for them, but we couldn't find them because they ran them off and made them leave. So we understand that he was treated like a dead man, and I believe that when he saw her, he knew this is the woman I want, and I don't have anything because I had to, give it away in order to live. And then I'm sure what's going through his mind is, what kind of man is this man? Because I'm sure at some point his Ema probably told him, be careful of him because he's greedy. Yeah, you can look and tell he was greedy. They went bearing gifts to bring his sister back, Yaakov's Ema, and they were still trying to get her to stay. She like, no, let's go. They be them, took all your money, and we'll be bumming trying to get back. But the thing of it is that I believe that they knew he's greedy. Are you following me?
Yes.
He's greedy. So you have to be careful. And so you have to imagine all the stuff he lost. And then when he saw her, his heart melted. Oh no, this ain't gonna happen. Now, once again, you have to understand, we can't say that this was because, how is it? I've heard many people say that this was Yaakov's punishment because he tricked Esau. He didn't trick Esau. You only trick people who don't agree, who agree to something but don't understand the full ramifications of what they're doing. He understood what he was doing because he didn't want it. So once again, we can't say that. No, I mean, I believe, but I do believe some of the things he encountered is because he did lie to his Abba. And you got to understand that he was the promised one. And so when he lied to him, that was where his problems came in, because he lied. He lied to his papa. Are you following me?
Yes.
All right. Yaakov had told only after telling her of their relationship did he kiss her. So he didn't just kiss her, lay one on her. Because I'm sure if he did, she probably would have took that bucket of empty, get that water, and probably would have came around like it was what's some things you do? The bolo took that bucket and said, crack out. Across the head it goes. But after it was made known that was customary for them, to do that. But he realized. So once again, we understand more and more as we read. We're understanding. Now we're gonna read. We're gonna finish reading these out, and then, like I said, we're gonna pray. That he was her Abba's brother's Rivka's son, and let him know that they were kinsmen. The Midrash interprets. Should her father wish to deceive me, I am the brother in deceit. Should he treat me fairly, I am Rivka's son. Will know how to reciprocate. Although Rachel did not know, Rachel did not know Rivka. He mentioned her so that she might inform her Abba. Now, once again, you have to understand the interpretations are based upon those who have read it and interpreted that the reason why, once again, that Laban tricked him is because he tricked Esau. No, he did it because that was his character, and he was greedy. It had nothing to do with that. Once again, it had nothing to do with that. He was a trickster, and I believe when he basically told him, and the thing of it is when he talks to him, it's not going to give you in full detail, but we're going to see that when Yaakov talks to him, I believe he's going to give him the full detail. And when he does that, that's how he's going to basically get over on him. Now, somebody would say, well, with a situation like that, is it wise to tell everything? No. TMI, too much information.
Right.
Some information is just left well enough alone, but I'm sure he asked him, where's the rest of your stuff? Where are your possessions? Where are your people? And he had to allude to it. But you could still go and say, well, I was robbed. And then probably question, well, why didn't you go back home? Well, I can't go back home. Why? Because the one who robbed me is the one I was running from. So you kind of constantly goes on and on and on. But once again, the importance of this is that Laban was greedy, manipulative, and he was very tricky. He was very tricky. But remember, Abba Yahuwah had already told him, I'm with you no matter where you go, assuring him, oh yeah, you're going to meet some tricksters and you're going to meet some folks. Some folks, help me, Abba Yahuwah. I'm doing double. You're going to meet some folk, but be assured I'm with you. So that was important. Now, told her Abba, because her mother was dead, that he should go out to welcome Yaakov. The tidings of Yaakov that he alone had rolled away the stone. He ran to meet him, thinking that he must have money, seeing that a mere servant had come so richly laden, but seeing him empty-handed, he embraced him, thinking that he might have the money hidden on his person. Feeling nothing, he kissed him, thinking that his wealth might consist of a precious stone carried in his mouth. Whereupon he told Laban all these things, how he came to him, penniless, and the reason for his condition. Once again, you see, he's dealing with a greedy person. He basically filling him up while he's running to him. And you think, oh, he hugging me because, he concerned. No, he's trying to pat you down. He's trying to see where the goods are. Boy, I tell you the truth. Ain't that something?
Yes.
All these things that his parents had sent him there. Isaac's rebuking that he did not come to him for a livelihood, for with his great strength, he would have found no difficulty in obtaining employment elsewhere, but that his parents had bade him go to him. Once again, we have to understand that was foiled because of his nephew and his group or his entourage. And so we see these things very important for us to look at and truly assess what's taking place here. Like I say, with his situation. And one of the things that's important for us to understand, and I'm sure none of us would ever do that, is take advantage of somebody else's misfortune. Capitalize off of somebody else's misfortune. And in doing so, we bring greater woes upon ourselves. Because you realize that something has happened, and now you come in and capitalize off of it. I want to say this, and then we're going to stop because she read to what verse? Which verse did she read to for me? To 12. Okay, I went past 12. I went to 13, which is great. We're gonna stop at verse 13, but we heard on the Pandora, and I like to hear sometimes the comedians that D.L. Hughley, just to name a few. His mouth can be a little rough at times, but some stuff he be talking about be true. Everybody know Kevin Hart, and then there are some of the other ones that you kind of talk about and listen to. Now, I do not like Aries Spears, period. I don't. I'm just gonna put that out there. I do not like him, and the reason I don't like him is because he do too much cooling around, and then he just his comedy is not on point. Like, you know. But anyway, to bring forward what I was saying. Anyway, we were listening, and there were some things that had come out about what is the guy name? The guy that played as that played in the Expendables. What's the brother name?
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews. Yeah, Terry Crews. Now, Terry Crews had been violated by this European man. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, once again, it is important that we use the right type of judgment when we're getting ready to do a thing. And we know that D.L. Hughley is a comedian. And my whole thing is, everything does not have to be taken and made a joke.
Right.
Especially when you say that you are for us as a people, sticking together and doing things. Right. Well, why would you make light of somebody else's situation? He said, well, the reason being, he talking about that's why you build up, that's why you get all big and you do all this stuff, and ain't nobody gonna be doing me like this, and talking about all as big as he is, and he should have never let that happen. And so Cruz said, well, what if I slap the blank out of you? And so now everybody was saying, well, now if that's the case, then why didn't you do that European man like that? I said, now you got to look at this. This is the fuel that they like to see for the fire. To see us turn around and fight among each other over stuff that I believe, once again, that he should have never made light of. Just because a person is thick and built doesn't mean that that person is aggressive.
Right.
And just because a person is small and timid looking doesn't mean that they're not aggressive.
Right.
You got some folk that are aggressive out there, like them little bitty badgers out there. You thinking they ain't gonna do nothing. Okay, walk up on one. Let's see. Or a hummingbird. Hummingbirds are gorgeous. They're this big, but they are some of the most territorial birds ever. And you want to see them tear into another one, poking one another in the head and killing each other babies? Let them get in an area they're not supposed to be in. So you can never determine or judge a thing by its size. Just because a person is a bodybuilder and big doesn't mean that they are a brute or that they are a fighter. That's not so. And just because they're small doesn't mean that they are not.
Right.
But he took it, in my opinion. He should have never made light of it, and he shouldn't have made a joke of it.
Right.
He said, when do we sanction things to say off limits? This will not be made a joke.
Right.
This will not, I will not capitalize off of this and make money off of what his pain, because he's already suffering. So why should I add to it? And so, you end up, and then he never said that he would. He was using it as an analogy. What if? If is conditional. And so everybody went on, and even D.L. Hughley, well, if he was going to do this to me, then why didn't he do it to them? I'm like, this is why in Hollywood, our people need, our people that need to be awakening, sit down sometime and take a great look in the mirror at themselves and ask themselves, what kind of service am I doing? Being a comedian to my people. Because they make light of many things that I believe they should say that's off limit.
Right, right.
We ain't gonna talk about that. That's just that we ain't gonna fool with that, y'all. And have it across the board as comedians, we won't touch that. Why? Because that's one of ours. And we don't need to make light of it. They already make light of us enough.
Right.
This is one thing should be off limits. And so I said that for this reason. When we look in the writings and we see him encountering Laban, we're going to see some things that are going to transpire. Once again, always keep in mind, he's not getting this because he tricked Esau.
Right.
He didn't trick him. He made him an offer that at that time he would not and could not refuse. And that was a bowl of lentil soup, red lentil soup, that he said that if I don't get, I'm going to die. And so he said, for the price of it. Now I'm going to show you this. And like I said, we're about to pray. This is why in the time we're in now, and please do not get comfortable because of the things that are taking place. They've lifted the ban temporarily off of the government shutdown and so forth. But don't get comfortable because you don't know what this next wave is going to bring.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
It's just like when people go to the store and you see them buying buggies and buggies full of stuff, and you start thinking, hey, y'all ain't the only one in the grocery store trying to buy stuff. They got cases and cases of this, especially when storms are about to hit. Well, you have to understand their mentality is if I corner the market on this, you have to come to me. And if I desire to sell it for $1,000, guess what? You have to buy it if you want it. If not, you will just suffer. Right. We can't have that mentality. No. We got to help one another, uplift one another, and not hurt one another. And once again, contrary to popular belief, everybody believes that Laban was white. He was not. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
He was not. He was not an Edomite because the Edomites are not European.
God.
They are not. We constantly say, well, we don't. When I say we, you know, I'm talking about us as a group. But I don't say, but we as a people, some of us say that the Edomites are Europeans. They are not, y'all. That's very important for us to understand. Laban, just because it meant white, does not mean he was white. And even I'll go to say this, if he was, how do we know he wasn't an albino? Right. But you can be rest assured he was not of a European persuasion. Okay. Very important for us to understand that. Are y'all hearing me?
Yes.
And so it's important that we understand these things and that we follow it accordingly. Once again, I want to say to you, we're going to pray. For those that are stuck and stay, we want to pray with you and pray for you as we prepare to move forward and be prepared for our Shabbat class in the morning. Abba Yahuwah, we told our youth for this, our time pre-Shabbat, a time that we prepare ourselves for our time of rest, a time that we have studied, a time that we come before you as a unit, as a people, learning that we may learn to do what is right and shun what is wrong, and not just shun it, but walk away completely and remove it out of our lives. I pray for the sick and shut in, Abba Yahuwah. I pray for your healing, for you said healing is the children's bread. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, that we will see transformation take place because of the impartation that you have given unto us. For we know that you are a healer, a protector, our guide, our confidant. We know you are all those things and so much more. And this Layla, I pray for those, Abba Yahuwah, that are laid up with sicknesses. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, for those that are not just sick physically, but sick mentally, socially, economically. Sickness has taken over their bodies. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, for your delivering power as we have come in full agreement to walk and operate in your time of Shabbat rest. You said, Abba Yahuwah, that if we would be willing and obedient, that we would not only just eat the great of the land, but you would not withhold no great thing from us. And the greatest thing we could ever have, and that is healing, to have a healthy body. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, that you will continue to breathe on us, that you will continue to immerse us in your truth as we continue to look forward to the classes, not only for the class, but for our time of visitation with you. This is an appointed time that you have set for us to meet with you. And we have done and will continue to do everything that we need to do to meet with you in this appointed place at this appointed time. Breathe on us, Abba Yahuwah. Immerse us in your truth, that we hear your instructions, even in our visions, that we see your instructions in our visions, that we feel your instructions, Abba Yahuwah, embracing us, moving us, and showing us what and how we need to do it. I total you, Abba Yahuwah, for that what you're doing. As we continue to walk in confidence and boldness in the truth that you have set before us, the only truth that we have, the only truth that was given unto us as a people, and that is your Torah. As you told us, you would set us apart, a people that would be above all people of the world. We are that people, and as we stand before you, Abba Yahuwah, we repent for the deeds, not just our deeds, but the deeds of our ancestors and forefathers. We repent, Abba Yahuwah, and we ask you to wash our slate clean, to cleanse us, renew us, that as we continue to push forward, to do all that you have called us to do, and to become all that you're calling us to become. I ask, Abba Yahuwah, that you will baruch your people with sweet rest on this Layla, and that as we rise, your will be done in us in the morning. And as we prepare to gather in this place, your will be done. We ask that you have your way, Abba Yahuwah. Open the ears of your people, open our eyes that we see and our ears that we hear. Move upon our hands, Abba Yahuwah, that we touch only the things that you have consecrated for us to touch. And the things that are not to be touched, give us the strength to walk away and let it go and leave it alone. I pray, Abba Yahuwah, that you would just continue to create that stirring, that hunger for uprightness. For you told us in Matthew 5:8, if we hunger and thirst after uprightness, we shall be filled. I told you, Abba Yahuwah, for feeding us, for quenching our thirst. In the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. And it is so. And it is so. I pray the Ahab of Abba Yahuwah, that you rest well this Layla, and that Abba Yahuwah would visit you in your visions, and that you will remember that no matter where you are, and that no matter what has taken place in your life, that Abba Yahuwah is on the side of the upright, and he will never leave us, neither will he forsake us. He is with us until the very end.
That's right.
I want to encourage you, keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah, because you can't go wrong if you hold on and keep on pressing on in his instructions. I am Aliyah Yashua, and I am the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Hebraic Belief Ministries, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, Hebraic Belief Ministries, this is the place where
the Torah does the body excellent.
Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch Atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
It is so.
And it is so.